Make sure you go to PressBoxOnline.com and register a youth team in your community for a chance to be highlighted as the PressBox Youth Team of the Month, sponsored by Sports Authority. Go to PressBoxOnline.com for all the details. Welcome back to Inside PressBox, and with me now is our NFL draft writer, and he also covered the University of Maryland football team for Carroll County Times and PressBoxOnline.com, and that is Matt Zenitz. And Matt, before we talk NFL draft, rumors abounding as we're taping this Wednesday night that Danny O'Brien going to be the latest in a long stream of Terrapins to leave.
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing, and it was originally reported today that he had actually gotten his release from Maryland, I guess officially marking the end of his Maryland career earlier today, and it seems like that was maybe falsely reported, and somebody had jumped the gun on that one a little bit, that he hasn't officially gotten his release yet, but it's been speculated since the end of last season that Danny will ultimately leave Maryland as a graduate of the University of Maryland, which will give him the capability to play right away at another school. So whether it ends up being today, this week, by the time we air this weekend, I think that at some point he will end up leaving and being just the latest.
Now, let me ask you a question. What do you make of all this? Forget X's and O's. Is this pretty normal, losing this many players when a new coach comes in?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Danny leaving, Max Garcia, I think, will end up leaving starting left tackle.
That's going to be like 23 or 24 players.
That'll be close to 25. It'll be either 24 or 25. By the time that they end up leaving, it'll be, I think, 10 or 11 since the end of the season. So, no, it's not normal whatsoever. And I guess...
Is there some normal attrition rate, maybe 6 or 7 at other schools?
I really couldn't give you an accurate number.
But this is high.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your assessment of Randy's program right now, the state of it?
I mean, it's easy to be skeptical. 2-10 last season, obviously very disappointing. I remember talking on this show before last season started, just saying that with the pieces they had coming back and just his track record at UConn, that they had the chance to have a potentially special season and challenge for an ACC championship and really bring in a lot of support for that program. And obviously the season went downhill in a hurry, and with the team that they have coming back, it's hard to be exactly optimistic going forward, at least for the near future.
And you told me before we went on the air, there had been a lot of talk that they were having some kind of great recruiting class. They really had pretty much an average recruiting class.
They had a good recruiting class considering what last season was. You have to remember, last season, they tied the most losses in school history. It was as disappointing of a first season as I've seen for a head coach in a while. And considering that and taking that into account, you had to expect the recruiting class to suffer as a result, and for them to pull out what was ultimately ranked as, I think, the 45th best recruiting class in the country. I'd say that's a win for them. They brought in some talent, and that should help them going into next year.
All right. Let's take a look. You're going to be doing, as you've done each year since I got to know you back when I started PressBox, and it's gotten better and better each year. You're going to be doing an NFL draft blog on PressBoxOnline.com. And tell us a little bit about what you're going to be digging into and what do you think of this year's crop of draftees?
Well, just like every year, intriguing, and a lot of guys that provide intriguing options for not only the Ravens, but the entire NFL that I guess we'll delve into over the course of the next couple months. The Combine obviously coming up later this month. So on that blog, we'll look at some players of interest for the Ravens and teams around the league. We'll mostly focus on teams within the AFC North, talk to some other analysts, get their take on this year's draft, get some player Q&As as well. So
you'll have your own mock drafts up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll have that up regularly, so a lot to look for on that blog.
If you had to predict right now, Ravens drafting number 29, barring a trade, are they looking for interior offensive line help? Are they looking for linebacker if the right guy was there?
If I had to guess right now, I'd say interior offensive lineman, whether it's a center or a guard, since I'm kind of skeptical at this point whether they'll be able to keep Ben Grubbs with the money that he's probably going to be able to get somewhere else. I would say either a center or a guard at this point, even though outside linebacker could be an option, middle linebacker, maybe safety, depending on what happens with Ed Reed and in free agency. So a lot of different places that the Ravens could go, but right now I would say interior offensive line.
All right, and how about this draft? Where is it strongest and where is it weakest, if you had to guess now? And I know your knowledge of it is probably just evolving right now.
Well, I'm impressed with the offensive linemen, to be honest with you, and the interior offensive linemen in particular. I think there will be some options for the Ravens that they are in the first round. obviously you look at interior offensive line, and it's not exactly a position that you see talked about very heavily in terms of first round, high first round, but I think this year there could be 3 interior offensive linemen that go in the first round, maybe even 4, and like I said, I think the Ravens could be one of those teams that maybe targets one of those guys. Is
Andrew Luck clearly at the top of the heap here?
I think he's clearly the #1 pick at this point. I don't know if he's actually, I'm not going to say he's not the best player. He's a very talented quarterback, but there are some other great players at the top of the draft as well.
Looking at the draft, it's never an exact science the year that you draft players. Now, this past season, the Ravens really benefited from Terrence Cody, and Paul Kruger finally kind of arrived.
Very much turning.
Is it possible next year that Ja Reed and maybe a Sergio Kindle are guys that step up and get the chance and the opportunities to become meaningful players?
I think Sergio Kindle, I think it's fair to say, is a lot more of a wild card than Ja Reed, but Ja Reed, I think, is better suited for right tackle. I would say the same about Michael Ward. So even with Ja Reed in the mix, I still think it would be in the Ravens' best interest to go out and find a left tackle. And I think they may do that in this draft.
Quarterback now. We know now that Joe Flacco is our franchise quarterback. I don't think you or I had any doubts about it, but is Tyrod Taylor capable of really, I mean, you know, the Ravens have rolled that dice, you know, with Joe Flacco being uninjured for his entire 4 years. Can he be a capable backup in the NFL?
Team seems to think highly of him. Very talented in college. I had my doubts about him coming out of Virginia Tech, but a very talented player that the team seems to be very high on. So they have confidence in him, so we'll see what happens going forward. I don't think that you'll be seeing him be a starting quarterback for the Ravens at any point soon, but I think in a pinch that he would be capable of stepping in and making some plays.
All right. And Anthony Allen, can he help out?
I liked Anthony Allen coming out of Georgia Tech. I think they'll bring in a veteran running back, but if need be, I think Anthony Allen could make some plays as well.
And might that running back be Ricky Williams before it's all said and done?
I'd be surprised.
You would be surprised.
I would be surprised.
Right. Matt Zenitz, again, NFL Draft Blog. It starts up this week on PressBoxOnline.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back to wrap things up when we return on Inside PressBox. Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Friedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs.